Hello, my name is Aaron Cavanagh and I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of Post-Burnout.com. Post-Burnout.com is a culture website dedicated to venerating burnt-out artists the world over. This is our website's podcast where we publish full-length recordings of our interviews, which are sometimes the unedited versions of our site's articles and at other times are exclusives. If you're a returning listener, thank you for coming back, and if this is your first time listening, thank you for checking us out. We hope you enjoy and consider subscribing, giving the episodes a thumbs up if you're on YouTube, or giving it a rating if you're anywhere else. It really helps us out. Thank you. Alright, in this edition of PostBurnout.com interviews, we talk with the Irish musician Sarah Dexter of the experimental musical project Dexterity. Sarah discusses forming the project, her one-year course at BIMM, the gap in the project's output, their latest single Vessel, discovering that she was trans and how this impacted their music, the importance of queer art and empathy, and much more.
Hello.
Hey Sarah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, hello.
Hey, it's nice to meet you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me out here.
Oh, absolutely, of course, and thanks for doing that. I'll try not to take up too much of your time. I just had a
No,
couple of
it's all right.
questions.
Yeah, sure,
Um,
sure, sure.
the first thing I wanted to ask was a bit about your own kind of musical background. We'll start with the kind of, I
Mm.
guess, very basic question. For yourself, I mean, what was kind of like your, I guess, history of music? Because, like, the music listed for the Dexterity project is like it's very kind of all over the place, but it seems to work. So, for yourself, was that kind of, did you have an eclectic upbringing musically?
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, I've been singing since I can remember, and I played cello when I was 7, and then I started playing trombone when I was 11. Picked up guitar on my own when I was 10. Played a bit of drums as well. So I just like my whole family's musical.
Hmm.
And it's something that I always did. It was always lessons and theory and choirs and orchestra and but the guitar was the one that I picked up for myself, and that was the one that I wanted to play. And that was how I expressed myself it wasn't never a chore. It was always like this is like once I started playing guitar, I started writing music at the age of 10. And then I started playing in bands and 13 onwards and was playing a lot of rock and stuff, but I really started to get into like prog metal. It was mostly progressive metal music from like 15, 16 onwards. I just really, really fell in love with like Periphery and Animals as leaders. And now I love like really, really love bands like Haken and or Haken, I think it's Haken.
I think
And
it's Hawking, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's
I didn't
Haken.
want to be rude.
No, no, it's all right. I forget that it's German. Um and
I'm
like
always doing that
recently
with the V's and the W's in
yeah, yeah,
German.
yeah. And Sleep Token
Mm.
is my current love, but it's anything like that. I love the concept album kind of thing, and I love the rhythms, and I love the how they work together.
Mhm.
So I definitely brought that with me with in my project.
Yeah, I mean, well, just to go back there a little bit. So you said you got into like prog metal at 15. Like, how did you discover that?
Well, my brother got me into metal when I was like 10, so I
Hmm.
kind of had an early teenage years.
Okay.
So like yeah, like I was already into a lot of metal then. But and like Periphery would have been one of those bands, but I never really understood it quite well. But then
Hmm.
later on, I really resonated with just how emotional the music was. That was a really big thing for me. It was much less about the technicality, although rhythm was always a really big thing for me. I would always click at my fingers, so I would do that
Yeah,
kind of thing, and I would
I used to do
always
that too. I think it was like a stimming thing.
yeah, well, yeah, and autism runs through the veins,
Yeah,
so.
probably.
And yeah, so like the rhythmic aspect, I had learned the gent lines when I'm going to school. Like I loved that stuff a lot. The rhythmic aspect is a really big thing for me. So I think I just got really hooked onto prog metal, just these really big, what felt like artistic pieces with a lot of intricate rhythms, with all the bits of metal and rock that I love, with also a really deep emotional aspect to them. And I just it took me a while. Like I was still writing in that kind of like rock and maybe a bit of hard rock kind of style, but I think when I left school, I started to really explore that idea. Actually, I can kind of do whatever I want, you know?
Yeah.
That's when I was like, I don't have to conform to anything. And that's when songwriting became really fun. And when really started to love my own music was when I kind of tore down those boundaries and I wanted to think, like, what do I want? Like, what do I want to hear not even what people other people want. Like there's always a bit of aspect of what other people want to hear, but I was
Yep.
just like I really and it always came from the soul. That was the most important thing was like expressing how I felt in that moment through music. And
Well, I,
that was the basis
sorry.
of a lot of my music with Dexterity.
Well, I have to ask because you were mentioning like you're playing in bands as like a kid and stuff. So like when you had that kind of experience, I mean, how much of it was kind of like dictating what you kind of wanted to play versus how much of it was kind of like give and take with the other band members?
Well, definitely the first band I was in, between the ages of 13 and 15. We were very passionate. We practiced every week. Obviously, we're really close friends as well, but there was a bit of turmoil. It's really hard when you're working in a band with other people and you have creative interests and
Mm.
creative disinterests as well. I think that's why it dissolved, just because we just couldn't agree on some things. There's a lot of tension, and we're also friends in school, and I realized just how hard that was to work with other
Sure,
people in some aspect. Took a lot, a lot. Um, and I suppose I also realized just how picky I can be as well, and how much that the music, like the songs that I wrote would always mean so much to me, but the songs that someone else wrote in the band would always be not as, you know, um,
sure,
close to
impactful.
me,
Yeah,
impactful, and they did grow on me, but it took a long time and it was rough, like to get to that
yeah.
stage. So I
Were
kind
you
of
were you doing
decided.
vocals or
I was doing vocals and guitar, yeah. So I
yeah?
play
So it's
vocals
hard to
and
sing other people's kind of experiences. You know what I mean?
kind of, yeah. Definitely the lyrics were a tough one, because lyrics
Mm.
kind of come from you, and then like when there's someone else's, it's kind of like, what am I singing?
Yeah,
But you do find meaning eventually. I did learn that as well, but I think just it wasn't working. Like we released an EP way back, and looking back on it, it's actually grand. But I remember feeling like, oh, it's terrible, I was so hard on
yeah,
myself. I just couldn't forgive myself for everything. I felt like I had to be professional.
sure. What sort of like music genres were you kind of playing? And actually, just to kind of go back just before discovering metal, like in your household, because you said you come from like a musical household. So like, what sort of music would you have been like, I guess, first hearing as a kid?
Well, there's loads of classical music, but that was never the music of choice. It was the
Mm,
music that I had to sing and play and perform.
yeah,
But my brothers, they were in bands. I'm the youngest of seven, so like I had so many older siblings, and all their influences kind of trickled down onto me. And they were in
sure.
bands, and like I loved Thin Lizzy, I loved loads of other rock bands as well. So rock and roll was definitely in my soul. Like that was always gonna happen. Like
Yeah.
rock and roll, that that was at the heart of it. I wasn't ever much into pop, and then. Obviously my brother getting me into metal, that would almost became the devil. Can't like pop anymore. But
So I
yeah,
think
like definitely a lot of Beatles and Queen and stuff, and then also like Thin Lizzy and other classics.
yeah, no, I think like it's like really interesting kind of like the background, just like how much like kind of the amalgamation kind of like because it's weird because I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten more appreciative of like music I would have heard growing up that I might have initially kind of been cold on, you know.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
has that been the
yeah.
same for you that you kind of like resonate with music a bit more, like music from your youth a bit more now, or how do you feel about that?
Um, do you know what? Like, not really. When it comes to old rock music, I'm not like mad into it. I think I really just have been hyper attached to like prog music and music that's been released in the past 10, 20 years. There's some really, really amazing music that's been released in the past 10, 20 years. I
Yeah,
think I've become a lot more open-minded with regards to other genres, though, that's for sure.
yeah.
Um, like a lot of pop music and other genres as well. I've opened my mind a lot, and I'd pull influence on that as well sometimes. But yeah, like I'm not. A lot of the music that I liked when I was younger, I still like now. I don't think there was that much music. There's definitely some music that was different genres that's very nostalgic for me as well. It's like we can't not like it anymore.
Sure, of course. No, yeah, trying to go from I guess prog metal to classic rock is kind of like going from LSD to tobacco. It's just like it's not the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to go back. Oh yeah, and
Um,
I can't get enough of it sometimes.
can't get enough of that LSD. This episode's getting flagged. So when we talk about the Dexterity project, so like when did this begin? Because I was noticing when I was looking up your music, I mean, there was a single from about 5 years ago, Reflections. But like, how did that project kind of begin? And generally, was it kind of just like a solo project, and that expanded into a band, or was a band always something that the project was going to be? Like, how did that kind of work?
Well, like Dexterity is me. Like
Yeah.
so I am the one who makes the music and is like and that's always been the model and the way that I've had it. It just started off as the songs I was writing when I did a 1 year course in BIMM in songwriting,
Hmm.
and I made loads of connections, and we were a bunch of songwriters playing in bands together, but it was all our own genres, our own different music. And so it was never like one band. It was more like, oh, my music now, and then oh, his music now, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
But that's where the songwriting started. And then I didn't want to like be in a like I wanted it to remain mine, you know. I wanted to write the parts, and I love to feed off of people's talent for sure. Like my drummer who recorded with me, Freddie Treble on the on Vessel.
Hmm.
Like I would instruct him on as to what like to play, and I would show him some like particular lines, and then he'd just add to it because he was a better performer than I was. He could play, he had better technique. I just gave him like the bones of it, and then he'd build on that. And that I love that sort of relationship I have with my musicians. But it still all comes from me, and I'm the one who criticizes. Um, it started out then, and I thought I'd give it a go. And I realized during that year that I didn't want to do music. I thought this was too stressful. All I wanted to do was perform live with my niche genre, and I was like, "There's no career in that." So I decided to do a degree in physics instead because I love maths,
Yeah.
and science, and I did that, and so music was always kind of on the side. I didn't really want to commit to it. I was still playing with my friends for their projects, but and like we recorded that one song Reflections. We just kind of threw it out. Like we did a home recording and we did a quick mix and a DistroKid master and then popped it up just for the crack. I did nothing for it. I just thought it'd be fun. We decided to play a bit more before COVID, and then after COVID we stopped playing. But when I was reading, sorry, I'm kind of rambling, but when I was reading
No.
your website and about where post burnout comes from, I related to it an awful lot because it was very much like that. What would happen is I'd be working in college or working now when in my job, and you know I'd get a lot of oh, I need to do this music, so I'd start preparing to do more. I'm like I'm gonna post more, I'm gonna write more, I'm gonna rehearse and record, and then I guess to a point where I'm like so stressed.
Hmm.
I'm like, you know what? This is not my career. I'm gonna ditch it. Like I just don't want to do it anymore. So I do, and that went on for a long time. And I just had other things going on. I didn't want to do it. And it was only until last March that I really realized, okay, I have far too much pride, like for my music.
Hmm.
And I have a lot of pride and a lot of confidence in my music and my songwriting ability. With that, the antithesis of that is the amount of shame that I carried not having anything to show for it all these years and hours I've spent playing music. And I was like, okay, no more, like I just have to do it regardless. And it's been hard. Like it's like this release has been hard for me. Balancing a full-time job and doing the Vesta release is a lot of work, and it's not something I'm very good at. But I now have a principled approach where like this has to happen, you know, for me to move on in my life kind of thing. And I still
Okay.
love it. Like it's still really, really amazing to play. But yeah, like the music is me. Like it's like a to me it's like a diary of some of the most turbulent times in my life. And the songs would come out from thoughts and feelings I would have in those moments. And it's not always like in one moment, it could be over several moments. And some of the songs aren't always like written in one day. They could take a while to emerge, but they're always really, really personal to me,
Mhm.
um, at its core. And that's always what been Dexterity is about. It's just a project for me to express myself in a way that I can't with words.
So, not to be too pretentious here, but it's kind of like a mosaic of kind of like different times in your life. Would that be a fair thing to say, or different kind of
Yeah,
experiences or thoughts at any time in life?
kind of, yeah. I mean, definitely it would there be some sort of specific turmoil, and then I would be writing. about it in a more abstract way.
Hmm.
But a reoccurring theme in my songs and what I kind of explore a lot with Vessel is that there is a kind of consistent underlying sadness and like an underlying pain that I definitely brought with me for a long time. And a lot of that kind of has been relieved or disappeared when I realized I was trans. Because when I wrote the song, it was 2 years before I actually realized I was trans.
Hmm.
Um, and that's the same with Reflections. And when I listen to them now again, I'm like, why did I not know?
Yeah.
It's far too revealing, it's ridiculous. But I honestly, that was my literal thoughts and feelings at the time. I could not deal with my body, and I did not know why.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot to go on there. So we'll stick with Vessel then, as like your new single that's come out. As you mentioned, it's kind of dealing with I suppose like the personal and the political kind of politics kind of dictates people's personal lives, and obviously being trans is a weirdly political thing at the moment now. Like it's just like this
Yeah.
weird political hot topic for discernibly no reason. I was wondering, yeah, so what were you trying to, I guess, express with the song? Was it well, obviously personal experience, but was it trying to deliver a message of like something that people could relate to, or was it kind of just like what you need to exercise, or yeah, what was the kind of, I guess, the intent with the song?
Well, the intent when writing it was just to express my feelings. There's these feelings that I could not express through
Yeah,
words, that feel very challenging to express in words. And the fact that I've been doing it recently is kind of weird to me, to be honest, because um it wasn't something I was able to do, for a long time. It's just the song, and that was the song, and that's what it was. Um, I always felt like it's very unfortunate how political,
yeah,
or how much politics there is around transgender people.
hmm,
It's never something that I've really wanted to be a part of, but I've kind of had to be because I'm now in it. Like I
yeah,
can't not be a part of that anymore, and it's something that I've had to navigate, and I've had some difficult situations regarding that for sure. But I think that although the intent was to be personal, it in turn has become relatable and
yeah,
can be relatable, and I can see that, and I want to show that to people as well. So although I'm not making any statements, I think that it's something people can probably um relate to, or particularly trans people can relate to in particular. And it's also a way for people to understand how I feel as well, you
yeah,
know? Um, and in a way that's not so political. Like I wanted it to be like I'm just a person,
yeah.
I'm not, it's not like this is just like my life and my turmoil, in a way that can happen to anyone in a way, it's just happened to me.
Yeah. No, I think it's really important to for like cisgender people to like really listen to like trans art and stuff, and to engage with it, because I think if you have any kind of like empathy at all, you can kind of understand it, you know what I mean? I think no, you know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
watching
Yeah.
Jane Schoenbrun's, like I'm a big fan of their films, and like things like that. It's like when I watch it, it's like even though I'm not trans myself, it's like yeah, I get it. Well, I don't like I get what it's like
You're
to
okay. Don't
no, but
worry.
I get what it's like to kind of question your identity. And to me, it's just like if it wasn't this weirdly political thing, I think uh it would be better for everyone.
Yeah, well, what I will say about that, for me, is like, and it does relate to the song in a way. I remember I was talking to a friend, cisgender friend, and you know, I knew him when I was cis and when I wasn't sure about my sexuality as well, and it was in and around the time I was doing Dexterity early
Mhm.
on when I first wrote a lot of my songs, and I was just being like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is going on? I don't know what's
You
going
can curse,
on.
by the way. Sometimes
Oh,
people are like,
okay,
"Can I
okay,
swear?" Yeah, yeah, you can say what you want.
okay. Like, I wouldn't know what the fuck's going on, and I'd be going through these situations with him, being like, I don't know, like, I just don't feel like this, or I feel like this, and I feel so, and then I remember like quite a while later. he was like, "Do you know what? Like before, I would have been very like hesitant to like understand or believe people who have these like sort of different identities. But
Hmm.
now listening to you struggling all the time, I understand it quite well now. Like it's not like a weird thing or like a way of life kind of thing. It's just
Yeah.
like me trying to figure out how I fit and trying to love and trying to function. It's really hard, or it can be when you don't understand what the puzzle pieces are because you're trying to fit into a different, you know, mold.
Yeah.
It doesn't really
No,
work.
no,
So
totally. I get that.
I think if
Very.
more people can see that side of it, where it's just like the lead up to it, I think people will be able to relate a lot more to the transgender experience. It's not just they know it's not just this or just that. It's a it's who you are.
Yeah. No, I think more sort of trans voices in the media is kind of like very important because like all these like quote unquote very important discussions we have to be having about this topic. It's like, but it's all just like cis people and stuff like that. You're like, I don't know. I think again, I think like if people could just actually listen and talk to trans people, a lot of these kind of worries would sort of dissipate. I think.
It's definitely
That's just my
difficult,
opinion.
yeah. No, it can be a very us and them kind of situation for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
Um.
I'm so grateful. Like I every day I am so grateful for anyone who makes any effort for me because I know that if someone is calling me by Sarah, she, her, they have to do a mental rewire in their brain. I have to do a mental rewire in my brain for my friends. It's just a human thing. And whenever someone is giving me that level of respect, I'm like, thank you so much for going through that process for me.
Mhm.
People might see it as a privilege, as a like a baseline privilege. So for me, I'm very grateful, and I can, you know, it's hard to explain in words.
No, no, I get what you're saying. I was actually going to ask now that like the Dexterity project is starting kind of in earnest again. I mean, people who are kind of getting introduced to the project now will only know you as Sarah, she, her. So, is that kind of like a nice thing to kind of go like, okay, now that I've had that kind of sabbatical from my first release to now, and I'm kind of getting to introduce myself to the world in properly. Do you feel like now it's kind of the best time as you've come to realize who you are and that's who you can introduce yourself to the world in a larger scale?
I think so for sure. I think although there is still like quite a bit of pain in my songs because of where they come from, I'm not showing them to the world from a place of pain anymore,
Yeah,
and I'm doing it from a place of pride and from a place of expression, and I definitely feel that uh in the few times I have played live, playing open mics, it's been a much more positive experience for me. Whereas before I just wanted to sort of wallow in my pain on stage, and
yeah,
that's not very productive. It's just me wanting to quit all the time. Um,
yeah.
like,
I get it, I get
um,
it.
I think, yeah, and I have a sense of control now as well with regards to like what I want and who I am, and I feel much more mature. I think I've grown up quite a bit as well
Yeah, of course.
and had a bit of life tea.
Yeah.
um in a good way. I definitely feel really proud of the work that me and my team have put in for this release, and I'm really looking forward to doing more, and I have more in store, or like at least I have a lot of ideas and a lot of plans in place for upcoming stuff. And I really also I want to show everyone that I'm serious, and I believe that I can be serious and I can do it. Whereas before I always felt like I was letting everyone down. Everyone who believed in me before, who said your music was so great and that I should really get it out there. I felt like I kept letting them down whenever I was like, no, I can't do it.
Yeah. Well, no, there's an important thing you were kind of talking about there where you were saying like, it kind of became like a chore almost to be like, oh, I have to do this, I have to update, I have to get a new song out and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't think it should be that laborious if it's what you want to do, you know what I mean? So I think it's also important, like yeah, to have steady releases if this is what you want to do, but to also prioritize your own wants and your own mental health and these things over music because like it's like I forget who I heard like I heard a musician quote as saying like be proportional in your expectations. We're creating art. We're not like curing cancer here, and it's
I
like
know, yeah.
I think that's
It's
very
difficult.
important.
Yeah. Oh, like, and I think although I'm still like finding it difficult to navigate it, I'm handling it much better than I was before. I think
Yeah,
there can be a lot of imaginary pressure from
yeah.
what you see online, and you feel like all these people are putting all this work in, and it's so amazing and professional, and yours is just terrible, and it feels like a competition when no one ever said it was, and um I would just not want to deal with it, you know.
Do you feel
Whereas
the reception is proportional to the kind of effort you're putting in?
I honestly I think it's better.
Okay, that's
Like,
good.
as in like not these, well, at least for this release, and I've never given it a proper, like, this is what I would consider a proper go, where I feel like I've put effort into this one, whereas I hadn't before. And um I'm really happy with how it's gone, you know? Um, I didn't expect that much, because I think that it's, when you are no one, no one's gonna listen to you because you're no one.
Yeah.
And it's been so lovely to have so many people like giving me compliments and reviewing my stuff, and I'm even extremely happy to be here, you know?
Yeah, I'm happy to have you.
Thank you so much, honestly.
Yeah, of course. Do you ever I don't know, like there's no point ruminating on the past, I guess, but do you ever wish you'd kind of done this sooner, or do you kind of feel like no, actually now is sort of right time to actually be doing this in earnest?
If I were looking at it purely logically, obviously it would have been much better to have done it earlier.
Mhm.
Like, my old band is gone. They're in different countries. So I had to get a new band, and that took quite a lot of time to get everyone rehearsing the parts, and um, I don't have access to as many facilities as I had before when I was maybe in BIM and all these sorts of things. But there was not a chance I was doing it before. Like, if I had, for example, if I had committed to doing a degree in music, it would have killed me. Like, it really would have. It would have been a miserable time, you know. And I just know that in hindsight, the amount of growing I've done outside of music has been monumental. Um, to allow me to do what I'm doing now, you know.
Yeah.
Um, it's difficult to even think about ifs and woulds, and I'm happy with where I am,
Yeah, that's good. That's
considering the
good.
journey I've had.
Absolutely. No, and I was wondering, you were mentioning like bringing in other musicians there. I mean, obviously, the music is kind of described. I think it was described in your EPK as kind of a cross between alt pop and prog rock, which is a nice combination. I think you
Honestly,
don't
I
hear
don't
that a
even know
lot.
what my genre is anymore. People keep saying post rock as well. I'm like, what's post rock? I don't know what
Yeah,
post rock is.
you should just make up
Uh,
your own genre. I think that's the funniest thing you could do is just like
yeah,
make something
I,
really cryptic and indiscernible, and they'll just
Yeah,
be
I
like,
always
yeah.
said like alt prog rock or alt prog rock slash metal or something, because but it's not
How
that
about prop?
prop. Yeah,
Call it
prop,
prop. Yeah, I don't know.
prop.
It's prop rock.
Yeah.
No, then everyone will go
Um.
expecting like mannequins and shit, and you're like, I just have this limited space.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like, I always described it similar to Biffy Clyro. I think Biffy
Yeah, yeah,
Clyro is very, very, like, they're a band I liked a lot. Just very like kind of raw production. Just very basic guitars, vocals, and stuff. Then later albums they have a lot more like violins and stuff, whatever. But
sure.
um, and they have a bit of 5/4, a bit of 7/8, going on. And that's what Dexterity is like as well. But I don't know what my genre is anymore. I
Well,
think
that's
it's because
what's
I think in my head I'm listening to Tesseract and Periphery, and I'm thinking like, oh yeah, so something like that, but it's not like that at all.
But is that difficult then to find musicians who are able to adapt to the kind of all the different styles you're bringing in? Was that a difficulty when you were like getting people to play?
You know what? I have found that I've come across so many people who are very passionate about my music. Like, when I ask people to play, they're usually more passionate about my music than I am. and to have that is so valuable, and I'm so grateful. So right now I'm playing with the bassist Adriana Matthews, drummer Alex Rose, and I'm playing for her as well, actually, in Holy Light, which is her project. And guitarist Kian Summers and Nathan Weemerka. Um, they all love the music. And yes, the music is challenging. It's taken a long time to get them rehearsed up because, obviously Vessel's got the 5/4 going, and then it's got a like a straight on change to 9/8. It doesn't sound like 9/8.
Mhm.
But the other songs are even worse. Like,
This was
uh,
acclimatizing people, this one.
no, it really is. I'm telling you. Like Reflections is a pop song, and then Vessel is like, oh, it's the taste of the prog, and then my other songs are like, I'll be hoping to release another song hopefully in the next few months. If I won't say anything more about that though.
Okay,
Um,
okay. I won't
uh,
press.
Thank you. Um, that's gonna be much more chaotic.
Okay.
So you're
Well, we
gonna get
look
the full
forward to
spectrum
that.
of what Dexterity has to offer, which I'm excited for. Super excited for it.
Is it difficult actually to kind of like live up to that name? Do you feel like with Dexterity there's an expectation of like very experimental and very kind of laborious instrumentation or
Nah, nah, nah. I have a lot of pride in my music, and I'm super confident. I think I firmly believe I have good songs.
yeah,
That's the
yeah.
honest truth. I really love my songs. I think the difficulty when it comes to the expressing the songs is like I think recording is always really challenging because I'm like, have I captured the song well enough? Like the
Mm,
song is good. Is the production good enough to support it? That's really, really challenging, especially since I'm not a producer and I don't like producing, so I just don't really go near it. But I'm really happy with this production. Um, and a big thing that I like to do in music, and what I believe is why I think dexterity music is so appealing to people, and why I think like why a lot of people have said that they like my music. It's because it appeals to two kinds of listeners: people who want to hear a rock song, they can jam along. And then people who maybe have a bit more musical experience, there's so much technical detail in there. But
mhm.
the technical detail doesn't take away from the pleasant listening experience because it's not that jumpy. It's not that, you know, disorientating. You don't have to count really ever when you're listening to Dexterity. The musicians do, but the listener doesn't have to count. It's prog you can dance to, is what
Yeah,
I describe it. And there's a groove to it, and a lot of people who might not know a lot about music would not recognize something's off.
yeah.
I think it sounds quite natural, and that's a really big selling point, or at least a big appeal to selling point. I'm trying to sell my product.
Rolled up, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like I think that's a really appealing thing about Dexterity, and a lot of my songs don't have to be super long, and I think that's actually bad. I don't like that kind of music. Well,
Right.
I do, but
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah, like sometimes it's that they're still like they're quite condensed. A lot happens in quite a short space of time, even though it is like 5 minutes, but like it doesn't feel like 5 minutes because it keeps
Yeah.
changing over and over again.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
songs just need to be as long as they need to be. I mean, sometimes that could be a 20-minute krautrock song, and sometimes that could just be like a 30-second punker, you know? It's like whatever.
well, yeah, well,
As long as it retains the
it's not
thing.
something that I would think about when I'm writing. Usually,
Yeah.
when I'm writing, I'm thinking about, am I bored? Like,
Yeah.
because usually I'm trying to keep it engaged, and one song I have like a long rock section. I'm like, this is very boring. It's perfectly average. It's like 30-second section. It's just like, no, no, it's too boring. Gotta
Hey,
think
cut
about
the
what I'm gonna
fat, you
do with
know?
that one. Yeah, cut the fat. Yeah.
Hey, but I gotta ask though, like, with your music, I mean, what we've heard so far, I mean, you are trying to explore kind of a plethora of ideas in a condensed amount of time. So I was wondering, like, does the storytelling or the ideas you're trying to get across, kind of come before the length, or is length always a consideration? Because, like, I don't know, I think like it's better to kind of express your ideas fully, regardless of how long it takes, versus, trying to condense it to something and kind of like maybe missing key point or something, you know what I'm saying? For the
Yeah,
type of music you're doing, I mean.
it's never a conscious focus, but I think I do have a subconscious little gremlin in my brain that's being like thinking about the listener and what they want to hear. I
Yeah.
can't get rid of that. It's part of it. And I don't want to get rid of that little gremlin. I think that's he's an important little guy.
Hmm.
Um, I want it to be appealing at the end of the day. It's not just for me to express a particular kind of emotion. I want it to be. I want to listen to it.
Yeah.
So that's usually the way that goes. Hold on a second. I'm thinking. Um, when I write music, it usually starts like I feel like I'm not actively thinking too much about what I want to tell in the song. I think sometimes I just have some really beautiful riffs and I'm thinking about where that's going to go, and I think about what I can add to it with the other instruments and how they can complement it, and I have a lot of fun with that for sure. Like what would sound really cool here. And then sometimes I do have like just an idea, that I'm like I want to do this thing. It's cool. And like for example in Vessel I have like 4/9/8 rhythms that are different to each other happening at once. And it's very satisfying for me to hear. I think it sounds great. And
Yeah.
that was really fun to write because I'm like, oh, imagine if I had a 9/8, like a 9/8 section that sounded like it was in four, but then changed. Then you had like 2/2/2/3, and then 3/2/2/2, and then you had 3/3/3, and
That's the mathematical side of your brain coming
oh,
out.
I love it. Yeah, and I have other songs like that as well. But and then when I put lyrics and melody, that would just be like I need just get something out and it sounds nice. But I don't really think about what I'm writing. I just as long as it sounds nice, and especially with lyrics, I'm never thinking about what it's about. It just comes from me. But I'm never thinking about what it's about. It's just like it has to sound good.
Yeah.
Because it's funny. I listen to rhythm first in songs. I don't listen to lyrics really at all
Yeah.
until much, much later. And even then, I usually pick out the bits that I like and I just leave the meaning of the actual song behind
Yeah.
and create my own little interpretation from sections that I really, really love. Um, so the lyrics aren't a big focus, but I do think when lyrics sound good, um, there's a lot of meaning that can be that is hidden in it. And then when it come when they sound appropriate with the music and they also come from the soul, um, there's a lot of meaning that comes from that.
Yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying. So to kind of understand your songwriting process a little bit, I'm assuming based on what you said, and correct me if I'm getting any of this wrong, that it starts with the instrumentation, and then the lyrics kind of come as a reaction to that. Is that correct? Or do the lyrics kind of, actually you were kind of mentioned like, it's kind of patchwork to some degree, but kind of just ideas you've written down, just of thoughts you've had at different times. And, there's a bit of that element too. So I was wondering, just in general, I mean, like, in terms of getting a complete Dexterity song, how does it kind of begin, middle, end sort of work?
It's different every time. I
Oh
can't
no.
like well,
Give me
well,
a clear
well,
answer now, joking.
what I will say is it always starts the guitar. The guitar is the first thing.
Yeah.
Because that's my comfort instrument. That's my hobby. It's I sit down and I noodle, and when I'm noodling, I find something, and then I develop that and I record it on my phone. Um, and then I'm thinking about the structure, and I might do the lyrics always come later. But yeah, it starts with that. But what usually happens is if I've created a full song or maybe created half a song, I'm not happy with it. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna have it recorded. I'm gonna leave it sometimes for years. And then I'll fish it back out again when I think I have something else to add to it. So I have about 300 gigs of data of videos on my
Jeez.
computer just sitting there of all my little self-expressions, of music. Um, and when I want to write, I might have a look at them and see, actually, that was really good, and come back to it. And
Are
I
they
might
backed
patchwork
up?
things.
That's my
Oh,
big concern.
oh, they're all backed up. Well, if my drive service is held up and there's no serious cyber attacks on those cloud services, then I should be
Yeah.
okay.
No, that's my
If
major concern whenever I hear like all those
Yeah, I
gigs of
know,
data.
I
I'm
know.
like,
No,
back it up.
I was a bit scared with that as well when it wasn't backed up. I was like, feck. but I might get a NAS drive, just to be extra safe.
Yeah. I've heard
But
there's two types of people in the world, those who don't back up and those who've lost data, and I'm definitely in the latter camp.
luckily I have not lost data.
Yes.
So very, very, very happy that that hasn't happened yet. So. But
Yeah, let's not jinx it.
Vessel though, when I wrote that, that was done in like a day. I just popped it out. It's one of those, and it was great.
Yeah.
It was funny because at the time we were trying to play. I was arranging another song, which took a much longer time. I had a riff from when I was 14, and I was patching that up with another riff that I made much, much later with lyrics and parts I was making for the band, and it took a long time to teach it. And then next rehearsal, I was like, "Oh, by the way, I got another song. This one's called Vessel." So it just depends. Because I will not let a song. I will not finish a song unless I'm happy with it.
Yeah. No,
So I know
that's
that
like
another song will come along and I'll work on that one instead. There's no use for me to hold on to an idea and have to release it or have to finish it anytime soon. I can always
yeah.
come back to it and the idea will still be there. The Vessel was like half of it was based off an idea I had 2 years before that, and then I realized that section was good and that other one was shite. So I got rid of that other section and put the other section in and
Yeah. I
made it the
love
same
that.
key. It sounds really good. Well, I think it's good.
One thing I was going to ask actually just about kind of your background. You mentioned that you do physics and mathematics, and I was wondering, I mean, do those disciplines ever find their way into the kind of creative output? Because like, I mean, almost like for you getting the perfect song almost seems like somewhat of a formula where it's like, add this, subtract that, multiply this part, you know?
I'd say it's still a creative process, but I
Of course, yeah.
definitely I can't help but be a little analytical, because I'm trying to
Hmm.
think about what I want to hear and what sounds good, and that usually comes to analysis. But I think also with the prog aspect, there's a bit of that. Um, I always wanted to sound good, so I won't get too attached to an idea, but I might think of, oh, wouldn't it be cool if like another one of my songs, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I had 7/8 but with minims in the background? It would be fucking awesome, wouldn't it? And then my bandmates just like because they have to like play minims consistently over a 7/8 beat at the same time, and I'm like, no problem. You know, I love it when things go over bar lines and then come together in a very like conducive way, and it repeats. And there's a lot of that in prog metal, which I also get from as well,
Yeah.
and they love to mess with that, where it's just like they might play like a standard 4/4 beat, and then every like 7 bars will come together, and it's like, yeah. I love that kind of stuff. Um,
Do you like math rock?
I'm not like I wouldn't listen to it that much. I like
Okay.
Periphery's first album, which is Matty, but
Yeah.
I could never really get into like Dillinger Escape Plan or anything. Because I think a lot of time they're just too chaotic and they're not nice to listen to. Is like honest truth.
Yeah.
It's never about technicality for me. It's always I want it to sound good and be a really meaningful song.
Yeah. So
Maybe love.
euphonic over technique.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And like Periphery, I just think they have so many songs where there's a lot of technicality and a lot of sometimes chaotic bit and a lot of gent, but also really beautiful songs with a lot of really beautiful vocal chorus and melody and harmony. It's very accessible to me. I don't know. I just find it like it's very very soulful, meaningful, as if you're listening to a really beautiful acoustic song. It's that same
Yeah.
kind of energy, but with the rhythmic elements to it, and it really adds to the energy then when you have the technicality to it. For me, it like makes it so much better,
Yeah.
and I really want to recreate that.
Well, just one final thing I wanted to talk about was we're kind of talking about the music. You mentioned influence for Biffy Clyro, Periphery, Animals as Leaders. You also mentioned System of a Down and Modest Mouse. I have one. This was my own sort of like connection when I heard your music, but I don't know
Oh,
if you're
really?
familiar with the Dutch kind of art punk band The X, but it kind of reminded me of that. If you ever
No,
listened to them, yeah,
I'll look them up.
DEX. So yeah, it kind of reminded me of
Oh,
that a little bit.
Dex.
The EX, yes.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, I thought I'd just mention that, just if you're not familiar, I think maybe you'd like it. If not, please don't hate me. But
Oh,
please
no, don't worry, don't worry.
don't like
I don't like
spam or
any of
something.
the anyone else's music, so you won't be an exception.
Okay. I didn't create the music now, unfortunately, but so it won't be
I,
too personal. But yeah, I thought that would be a good reference point, the X. Anyway, I was wondering, like, talking about kind of like the timeline of your kind of your musical influences. One thing I was interested in is like, so when you started playing guitar, you said you were about 10. So who would have
yeah.
been your, I guess, guitar heroes then, and who are they now? Like, have that has that evolved a lot? Do you see your own taste change through the people you're trying to emulate or are inspired by?
Oh, that's a hard one. Just because, like I said, like guitar is always very much a self-expression. But yeah, like for sure, like I learned Whiskey in the Jar, Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
And when you have just an acoustic guitar, there's just, you're gonna do the more pop stuff, the poppy stuff. I couldn't
Mhm.
really do the more metal stuff. I had to do that for my rock band with the electric guitar. But I remember my first covers being like Whiskey in the Jar, God and Satan by Biffy Clyro, the lovely acoustic
Yeah.
song that they have that I really, really liked. And then I would do some System of a Down songs as well. But I never really like looked up to guitarists. I've never been a guitar person. I've never been into gear or guitars or guitarists. I think with the and then when it came to the prog stuff, they were so much better than me that I could never really see myself getting anywhere near it.
Yeah.
It just crazy jazz stuff, that I felt like was so unattainable, that I never even bothered trying.
Yeah.
Um I listened to a lot of Foo Fighters and Queens of the Stone Age when I was like 13, 14. And I think Dave Grohl was definitely a kind of a big like musical idol when I was that age. And for my band as well, we did a lot of that kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
we kind of just saw Dave Grohl as like the goat of like rock music. He kind of is in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It hasn't changed really, but like we would listen to all of his albums, know those about him, and then we play some of his song with Foo Fighters songs as well, and they
Were
were
you
always quite
into Them Crooked
challenging.
Vultures with Josh Homme and Dave?
My friends were not me so much. I didn't like them as much as they did. But I know.
They didn't last very long. They were like around for a year, I think, and then it was
They
just
had
like,
like
yeah,
an album, yeah, and they had
yeah,
some good
yeah.
songs in the album, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't
I
listened
I
to it since then. But
Yeah, so neither have I. Yeah, not really. But I still would listen to The Color and the Shape, by
yeah,
Foo Fighters quite a lot. And like Clockwork, which came out in and around that time.
I
It's
think
a
that's
really,
one of their
really
best albums, best Queens albums. It's so good.
so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like I think because it also came out when we were really into them, it had like a big emotional impact for us as well, and for me.
Hmm.
So I have a big nostalgic feeling for that album that I really, really love. Um. And but yeah, so like some of those guitar lines, like I remember I played the song Stranger Things Have Happened by Foo Fighters. I still can't play it. Like it's really hard. The solo is really challenging. I just can't do it. But I really fell in later on, like I really fell into my own style of playing guitar. A lot of things that I can do that people are like, how'd you do that? And then a lot of things that will do that I can't do. Because my guitar development just became through songwriting. I would write lines I couldn't play and then I would learn to play them.
I've done that. I actually know exactly what you're talking about. I've done that with
Oh,
bass
glad I'm
lines.
glad because it sounds
Yeah.
bizarre, right? It
It
sounds so
does, yeah.
bizarre,
Well, you know what's
but
interesting too is that like sometimes I can play it depends on the instrument too. Like different basses, for example, I can play different lines on. I know it's weird, but it's like when you have it has to do with the neck, I think, but different basses I'm a lot more dexterous on, and no pun intended. But
hey,
there's I actually didn't even mean that.
no, I
So
know.
some of them I'm actually a lot
Eh?
better at, and some of them like I'm like, no, I can't play on this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like it's quite funny in that as well because I would always have my acoustic and my electric guitar beside me, and I'd have one guitar stand. So one was in the case and one was in the guitar stand. And
Yeah.
every once in a while, I'm like, oh, I hate the electric. I'll go the acoustic. Oh, it sounds so great. And I'm like, I can't play on this acoustic guitar. I go to the electric. Oh, wow, I'm so good at guitar now. That just kept happening over and over
Yeah.
again. Whenever I play guitar, it's the way it was. Yeah. But no,
Actually, when
there's a
sorry,
lot
go
of
ahead.
lines that in my songs that I couldn't play when I wrote them because I had an idea. I was like, I want this song. I want this line to sound like it's in 4, but it's actually in 15/8. And then I'm like, oh God, that note goes there. Oh fuck. Yeah, that's happened quite a few times. And then I learned to play it really well and sing on top, and it was just like,
Yeah. I mean, I think people don't, unless you actually do it, people don't appreciate how difficult it is to actually play and sing at the same time. That's why I actually give Kurt Cobain a lot more kudos than people other people do. Because like people say,
oh
oh,
yeah,
Kurt
yeah.
was kind of a limited guitarist, and it's like, yeah, but if you play like School or Come As You Are while singing it, it's actually quite difficult to do both at
Yeah,
once.
that's definitely like, even though my singing's a bit raw and my guitar playing is not like up to standard with other professional guitar players, the one thing I do pride myself on is my ability to coordinate the two.
Yeah,
I've
no,
been
it's
I've
much more
been
difficult than people
Yeah, I've
appreciate.
been singing and playing guitar at the same time all my life now. Like, and I had to do like Toxicity, System of a Down, Helicopter by Block Party, like a bunch of these songs, and all our songs are very melodic as well. And I'd be singing as well. And
Yeah.
then a lot of my songs are also very melodic, and I'd be singing on top of that as well. Luckily though, I have a second guitarist, so now I can only be on the vocal, which is lovely because now I can actually perform.
Yeah.
When you have the guitar, you're strapped to the guitar, the mic stand, and I hate it. Um,
As a
I'm
performer, do you
much
find that difficult to go from, because I've heard other guitarists who, had the kind of, I guess, the crutch of the guitar as a stage performance, where then when they get that away and they just have to sing, it's kind of difficult to actually know what to do in terms of being
no,
engaging as just a singer.
no.
Have
See,
you had that issue?
I've never found this.
Okay.
I've always wanted to be solo on the microphone, always, because then I can dance and I can express myself properly, and I can really feel the music and not have to be thinking about playing the line properly.
Yeah. So getting
Because
rid of the guitar was like shredding a kind of a rain in a way.
Oh, so much so, yeah. And it's very rare I've had an opportunity to do this. Like, I remember once when I was 14, we played school assembly and we had a second guitarist at the time. We played Toxicity in school assembly and I was headbanging in school. I was going crazy. Everyone thought it was so cringy and I was having a great time. Yeah. Because we're all school uniforms. It was 9
Oh,
a.m.
okay.
on like a
Oh,
Thursday
they even the
morning.
performers had to be in school uniform. Yeah, because we used to do
Oh,
things like
yeah,
that, but I think
yeah.
the kids that were actually performing were allowed to dress in their own clothes.
No, I want. We know you weren't allowed. So
Oh
it's in my
no.
school uniform, head banging in front of the principal and the rest of the school.
He's
It's great.
joining.
Oh, yeah, he's going on. And then later on, like when I was in BIM, the final song I did for the final like assessment, like they had like the little BIM gigs, and I did that one, and that was also a 5 piece.
Yeah.
And it's so freeing to like express yourself and just to get into, because I get really shaky. I just like have to. I can really feel the reason like why I love the song. But when I'm playing guitar, I have to think about playing it right, and I can't
Yeah.
move my body. Like, I don't know how Dave Grohl does it. He seems to be fucking rocking out on the guitar and doing all the solos and shit, while it's like below his knees,
Yeah.
and singing.
Yes.
Like, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. But I can't do that. I have to have it quite high up, and I have to think about what I'm playing and sing.
Yeah,
And I
I'm the
can
same if
perform
you're
to a
doing
certain
big
extent.
lines. Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm doing just the technical like parts, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
It's chords
No,
grand, but it's never chords. Like,
I do think low down aesthetically looks a lot better. It looks cooler, but yeah, I
awesome.
think
Looks so
up
cool.
here, yeah, but up here it's kind of like that's the actual proficiency range, kind of, you know.
Up here, my fucking wrist doesn't hurt, I can
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
play.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, because like especially if you're doing like a full concert for like 2 hours, like the Foo Fighters would, it's like,
It's
take a
crazy,
break.
yeah. And you're not scratching the strings as well when it's high up as well, because you
Yeah,
the angle of the pick and everything. But
yeah,
yeah,
of
so
course.
I'm so fortunate we're playing a show on Thursday at 8 p.m. in
Yeah,
Fibbers, and I
I was
can't
gonna
wait.
plug that. It's with Miranda
Oh
Fall,
yeah,
Pending, and 0511.
that's the one. Yeah, we're playing first. A little small like half-hour set. We're playing and
I'll try to get to Sofer then for Thursday.
oh, lovely. Yeah, thank you. That'd be great. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, awesome. Like, it's gonna be the first time I've played a full dexterity set, where I'm just on vocal, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
But it's quite exhausting when I'm dancing, and then I have to sing, and I realize, oh, this phrase requires me to have a big lungful of breath, and I'm like, fuck. So I was trying to sort that out in last night's rehearsal, and Oh my
What
God.
what can people expect that they pop along to that show? I guess like obviously you off the reins just going mental, but what can
Yeah.
people kind of expect they pop along?
Well, I want to put on a bit of a show. It's not going to be super cool, you know. I think when I see shows with like lights and costumes and everything, it's so cool. But I can't. I'm not doing that. But what I will say is that I will perform. I will perform for people. I want to express what the song is, what each of the songs are like, and I want to show that in my performance. And I want to show that really badly. So I might be on my knees, I might be on the floor, I might be out off the stage, I might be jumping up and down. I might be not moving at all. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Well, I do. I was rehearsing it last night, but yeah, like I have a rough idea. But they'll also expect it to seem kind of short because we're playing songs into each other. Not the whole thing, but the first three are gonna be into each other, and the next two, and then the one that's on at the end. So it's gonna like after the first song, it's gonna be half the set.
That's
Yeah.
good. It kind of gives you a structure.
Well, it's good because I think it'd be too long otherwise, to be perfectly honest, you know.
Yeah, have you been
There.
timing the set when you're rehearsing it?
Oh yeah, it's in good time. It's in good time. But
Okay,
if
good.
we had breaks between each one of them, it wouldn't be, you know.
Yeah. Um,
It's
uh,
the way I
uh,
like to do it, you know. I love that show. I love a show.
yeah, no, and I was gonna ask, like, because you mentioned like it'd be nice to have all this like stage light and stuff, but I actually think it's good for new performers and new acts and stuff to kind of try doing things as minimally as possible so that the focus becomes the performance and it becomes about the band dynamics and how tight everyone's working off each other.
Hmm.
Where I think sometimes like if you have kind of like the more kind of theatrical aspects, it can get a little lost. I don't know if you feel the same.
Well, I suppose I'm comparing myself to very, you know, big, successful, established artists, you know, and I
Yeah,
see them like, wow, what a performance, you know.
sure.
Um,
But I think
because
it's also worthwhile seeing those same acts when they do like club shows and stuff like that when they don't have that. I think that's like really interesting too.
yeah, maybe I should have a look because I've only ever seen the good ones. But
You're like, oh no, they're shit.
yeah, yeah. Well, what am I listening to this whole time?
It'd be cool to see Freddie
I
Mercury in like a local pub
yeah, yeah.
with like
No,
12
no,
people.
like I think it's night and day though when someone is not rehearsed, you know. Like
Yes.
if you go to a show and they're putting on a show and it's not tight, like
Hmm.
it's terrible, you know. But I
Yeah.
went to see Sleep Token in Glasgow a couple of weeks ago. It completely blew my mind because you knew that they were like dead tight, dead in tune, like well rehearsed, exceptional, you know, on every aspect. And you knew it was real and live and personal. And yet they also had so much of these other things going on. And I know they're such a big band now, but watching it was like holy fuck, you know. And it's what I wanted. I wanted to be that, you know. That's what I want
Yeah.
to do. I want to like I don't know how much I go on with the lights and stuff, but I definitely want that kind of performance, really engaging performance that just captures you like that. I think
Yeah.
I think it's what people want, even if they don't know they want it, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah. I've talked to other kind of artists who kind of want to put visual art and things like that into their set and into their show. And one of the issues that a lot of people at that side is like when you're at a club level is that when you're at kind of a theater level or an arena level, there's a consistency between the venues you're playing. Where as a
Yeah,
club
yeah.
level, each club is so like idiosyncratic and different that it's hard to tell like, okay, will this have the requisite kind of dimensions for what we want to do, or will this have like the projector or anything like that we actually kind of need depending on what you're doing. So do you find that a challenge too, like, or do you kind of think if you were to add the kind of more visual or theatrical aspects to your set, you would just find a way to adapt it to each given venue?
Well, I mean, I'm definitely not on this level yet, right? This is definitely
Sure.
a big kind of like
Hypothetically.
mission. But no, hypothetically, no, but I do understand where you're coming from, absolutely, because I even thought about this on a like, you know, just even the simple difference between an electric set and acoustic set, you know.
Yeah, totally.
And for a while I thought that I can't acoustify my music because it's so reliant on all the parts, you know.
Yeah.
And then I would play them at open mics, and people said, no, it's actually really engaging still. I play it like just me and the main guitar line and it some of the songs are so bare, you know, because
Yeah.
there's so much other things going on that you're missing. and that's what I felt, and I felt like it didn't really hold up. People really, really liked it though. At least the feedback I got was very positive, and I was saying like, "What do you think?" And they're like, "Well, it's not full, but it's different. Like it's a different atmosphere." And I think when you have different venues and different situations, you can create a performance, a different kind of performance,
Yeah,
for where you are. That works. You don't have to force anything. I shouldn't be going to open mic being like, I need all these lights and choreography.
sure.
Um, like I'd say it's hard enough though, like if you have a set show to have to make different shows. It's a lot of work for sure. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'll even ever do that kind of stuff. Like I hope I hope I do. I hope I will. The thought to
Yeah.
me is just like I can't imagine how expensive it is. Holy shit. Oh, like it's hard enough as it is.
No, of course, yeah. It's like I have to pay 10 actors and then I have to have a puppeteer and just all this like additional costs. I have to hire projectionists. Yeah, no, but I think of like some acts like Ghost or Tool or something like that. It's like I
Oh
wonder what
yeah.
this would be like without the theatrics. Like how would this show be? Because like I
But
think
it,
so
it,
much of
it,
it is like
it
looking at the trippy imagery and the stage show and stuff.
but I think if you're tight and you play the music well, and you play the music well, it comes across, people will be engaged. I don't think I think in a good performance and good music and good musicians, you're not going to lose that magic. You can only enhance it, it starts at a basic level and then you can enhance it with more stuff if you want to, but you can still have an engaging performance without it, you know.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
something I've realized through playing the open mics for sure, that being engaging with nothing.
Yeah. My penultimate question, it's kind of a two-parter. So first of all, you were talking about the production on the record, sorry, on the single rather. When it comes to kind of like, because you said you don't produce yourself, when it comes to kind of finding an external producer, how is that process? And in general, was there always a consideration, excuse me, when you were in the studio that anything you were doing had to be able to be replicated live, or were you kind of content to allow certain things to just be production flares that wouldn't necessarily translate live, or what was your kind of relationship with that?
Well, the recording and production of this song was quite messy. And what I mean by that is it took a long time. It started out from the 98 FM Tilt development deal.
Yep, yep,
So the Sun Studio guys from the Sound Training College, they were the ones who recorded it, and they spent a long time recording it, and they kind of had a framework of what they wanted to do. They started with the um like a scratch track and built it from there. There's a little bit of disagreement with what I wanted to do and what they wanted to do for their project. Um, but in terms of what you're saying with the live and the recording, no, like I wanted it to. I was thinking maybe I should add some stuff. Like, what can I add? But I'm very bad at that. I really get overwhelmed about the possibility of adding anything to a record.
yes, yes,
When I write the song, I write it for five instruments or like for like vocals and harmonies, two guitars, bass and drums, and I really can't do more than that, at least not yet in my career, All my songs are written like that, and that's because I have the tools to perform in that way.
yeah,
When it comes to recording, I can't really think of a lot of things I would add to it, because that's the song. I've written the song that way. And so there's never any issues with that. Like you're not gonna go and see me live and hear a different song. It's gonna be the same song.
yeah,
Maybe minus the harmonies. I haven't gotten that far yet. I haven't gotten another vocalist, but
yeah. Just do
uh
backup, just do recording tracks.
no, I don't know. I'd rather not.
Okay. That kind of
Yeah,
dictates a lot of those sounds like those kind of like backing tracks kind of I always find they can kind of limit the song a little bit to a certain BPM or to a certain to a certain restriction where it's like the music you're playing live has to kind of be in sync to a lot of the stuff that's going on that's pre-recorded, you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, like I think it's never an option that should ever be eliminated. I think it's like a
Sure.
good idea. Like if you have something in the back that you want to add to it that adds to the song, you should definitely have it. However, if you can avoid it, you should because it's such a pain in the ass and things
Yes.
always go wrong. Uh,
Yes.
like unless you have like proper team working on it who really know the venue, it's such a nightmare, especially at the local level. Like
Know the venue and know your music.
yeah, exactly. You
Yeah.
have to know everything. You have to have people who are like locked in,
Yeah.
like a whole team of people, uh, to really execute it well and consistently. And I'm just like, no, like the thought of just rocking up to a venue with your guitars and playing is so nice, you know.
Yeah.
Doesn't You don't need anything. You just need the amp. You
Yeah, yeah, of course.
don't even need the amp. You can just play, you know. I like
Just
it.
go
It's
look at the chords I'm holding. You can imagine it in your head, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just imagine it. You don't need anything. It's very freeing because you have that nice natural push and pull, but also you get to hear the unique sort of performance of how amazing they're performing it on their own. You know, there's no
Yes.
extra element to it, but it's never be like eliminated. But yeah, when recording, I wasn't too pushed about this kind of thing. They did this whole like, elastic audio thing, you know, that like, trying to pull and pull and push them pull the BPM to a natural thing. I was like, keep it at 400 BPM. Like, come on,
Yeah.
just keep it. But that didn't happen. So I kind of rolled it a bit. The
Yeah.
production I wasn't happy with, so I had to get the styles and bring it to another producer.
Mhm.
And then I just sort of like, went with someone who I kind of knew, like Hugh Dwyer, who's my producer. He did an absolutely excellent job, so professional, so easy to work with. The biggest issue with finding a producer is finding someone who's consistent and someone who you can like contact. To be honest, I was probably the more annoying one when it came to the communications. He was really fantastic and professional and affordable. So it's everything I could
Yeah.
ever possibly need.
So is that the
Um,
plan to stick with him then for the future, or
when I
do you
finally
want to kind
decided
of try?
when I finally decided to get these well, there's another track as well, but get the tracks out, like yeah, like I messaged him, he gave me a first mix, and I was like, all right, he knows what he's doing, and I gave him a lot of a lot of guidance and stuff, but easy to work with, and that's what I needed, and I'm really really happy with the production on it, so it worked really well. But
Perfect.
there's never like, oh, can you add this like specific synth line? It's never like that.
That's fair.
Yeah. Like I don't know, maybe in 2 years you'll see I'm releasing a completely different kind of prog, you know?
No, oh, and that's interesting. Like, cause like there's so many like avenues you can kind of go with this. Like, it's not limited, and it's like you were mentioning at the beginning that like you're very interested in like concepts and kind of consistent through line. So I assume at some point like there will be an EP and there will be an album, but in general, like would you be not content with just like kind of putting an amalgamation of a bunch of disjointed songs together? Would any kind of like larger body of music that you release have to have some kind of connective through line?
I would love if it did. Yeah, for sure. Like it's actually surprising. I didn't even realize until very recently just how many albums that I listen to have songs fitting into each other. Like
Yeah,
it's in the majority for sure. I have very few albums these days that don't do that. And I love it. I love it so much. And I would really love it doesn't have to have like a story or a musical concept behind it or a theme. I just I think it'll be I want people to hear and I want to have for myself a piece of art in an album, I would
yeah,
love that. I think that would be a really amazing achievement if I ever got to that stage, and I really hope I do. Um, I'd love to do like a whole concept album kind of thing that highlights the show, that highlights the music, and it flows in, so they can listen to it and have it on, and not even realizing the songs changed. It's just keeping it going and going and going. I would absolutely love that. That would be a big dream and ambition of mine for sure.
I
The
think
only
it's
thing
achievable.
achievable. I just don't know what I'm gonna do with my wallet. Like,
Okay. So
I
you are planning on
honestly,
releasing singles for the meantime. That's like and kind of building it that way for the meantime.
I will say that there's a single and another single.
Yeah.
Those are the two singles that they're their own thing, separate songs. I don't want them to be a part of any greater piece. Uh, they should be left on their own, and then anything else on top of that, I'll have to see what happens. But ideally, I would absolutely love to do a bigger work because the thing is, I don't listen to singles. I don't really don't. I love albums, and that's what I listen to. So when people release singles, it's hard. I'm like, I don't. If I listen to this, I have to go to another song now.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to switch the track. Yeah. So, and I don't really follow playlists. I only have my liked playlist as well. I'm actually a nightmare musician. I'm not a good musician at all.
No, I'm just saying I don't create playlists either. Actually, I tell a lie. I create playlists for other people because sometimes people are like, "What do you listen to?" And it's just easier just to send them a link and be like,
Oh
"That's
yeah,
kind of my
yeah.
thing,"
Yeah, I have
rather
a
than
Sarah's 10 songs that
yeah,
uh, you know
get to know me.
get to know me.
I actually do like doing press for things. Like some outlets do kind of do that thing where like, 10 songs to know me and things like that. So maybe that'd be handy at some point, like for a press thing, just to have
Well,
that set list on hand.
for me to do, yeah, I've thought about it actually. Yeah, I think it'd be
Yeah,
cool to have because I kind of want to show people my kind of prog influence, and it's quite different. Like a lot of the prog songs I listen to are much like more intense than what I would write and send. But I'm kind of proud of the kind of the technical music that I listen to. I love it a lot and it means a lot. I want to show people that.
yeah.
Um, so sure.
Beyond music, I mean, what kind of like art inspires you? Like, what would be some of your favorite artists in other disciplines?
Oh, I don't know. Um, I when it comes to like artwork, like visual art, um, I wouldn't know artists. I really wouldn't know artists. But it's kind of one of these things when I see art, I'm like, wow, that's really good. I love that,
Yeah.
But I never remember names and follow people. I'm so bad for that. Because I'm actually not really on social media at all as well. It
Yeah.
makes it making life harder for myself. Um
In some ways,
but
you're making it easier though, not being on social media.
I
Just in
remember
general, I think people should take a break.
there was like but when I do come across an artist, I'm like, wow, this is so incredible, There was
Yeah.
one artist who did some really, really, really powerful queer art, Neve Barry was her name.
Mm.
And I remember she did an exhibition which is called like No Apologies, which is about like, expressing queer art and queer people with the sort of message of you should never have to apologize for who you are.
Mhm.
Oh, that killed me. That was that was really, really intense for me. And if I could afford it, I'd definitely get one of her pieces
Yeah.
in my so like art definitely moves me, but I wouldn't know a lot of artists per se.
Yeah. Well, you got to think about all the external multimedia surrounding it. Yeah, I don't know. It's a thing now of kind of like I guess being an artist that like you can't just know other musicians. You have to kind of know videographers and editors and
Yeah.
writers and all these kind of like these people. And it's good fun. I think getting to know people from multidisciplines and kind of collaborating together. I think like it can be really fun and really beautiful when done right in terms of like just getting the right people or even like promoters or people like that. Like I think
Oh, for
like the
sure.
whole
I
thing, the
mean,
whole connection's so great. Yeah.
yeah, like working with Roshi Doyle
Mm.
on my the vessel artwork, so incredible, and I loved it. Like, cause when we started, like, I of course had an idea what I wanted, and I was like, I kind of want something like this. And when she gave me the first draft, like, it wasn't what I wanted, or at least it wasn't like quite the same, but it was so much better in such a different
Yeah.
way. And I
Yeah.
was like, absolutely, this is what it is, and I absolutely love it. And she gave me so much amazing artwork that I've used throughout the release, and I use for the artwork that just is just so perfect. And the more I look at it, the more I'm like, I'm just so grateful to have her. I've been trying to promote her as much as I physically am able to
Yeah.
because it's just such an incredible, unique artwork, and it's been such a pleasure working with her. And I want to almost want to do that with more artists. Who else can I work with? I want to see other art, and
Yeah.
I trust my intuition quite a lot because I feel like I know when I see art that I like. I know what I like. I just don't seek it out all the time, I suppose.
Yeah.
Um,
No, totally.
or don't record it all the time, but I definitely like see it and I'm like, wow, that's really, really amazing. Like I really want that. Or like
Yeah.
I really love that. And working with Roshan for sure has been an experience of that. And her photos of me as well. She did the photos for all the press photos that I've been using for the release. Also really, really incredible. Some really amazing shots that just like I've been so happy with.
Mhm. Um, I guess I've kind of asked everything I have to ask about about this
Yeah.
thing about kind of you as a musician and artist. I guess the final thing I'll ask, this is actually the final thing, is you know, is there anything you would like to add?
Um, this is, you know, I had an interview earlier today, and this is the bit in the interview I always hate. Do you have any questions for me?
You have, yeah, it's like when you go for
Yeah.
like a job interview and at the end they're like, "So do you have any questions?" And you're like, "No," and
Yeah.
then you leave, and then it's like, "Oh yeah, so how much does it pay?" Like someone else asked you, I actually didn't ask, or
Yeah.
something like that.
It's actually a
Or the
below
hours, like,
minimum
I actually
wage.
don't know.
Yeah,
That's freelancing.
it's at the Shra picture from Irish TV series. Oh, what time is it? I could not help but think about that. It's so funny. Um, no, I just want people. I'm so happy if Vessel's out, and I want people to hear it. Like
Yeah,
from a like I said, like music for me, it's it's the purest form of self-expression for me. Something that I only began to realize past couple of years. In that, like I've tried to express my feelings to people through words, and it's such a chore, and it's really
yeah,
hard, and it's also like dissociative because I'm like describing it while not actually living it. Um,
yeah. I get
you
what you're
know, it's
saying.
like an after the fact thing, which makes sense, but music is a very much in the moment, raw emotion, you know. Like even if the lyrics aren't what I'm feeling in that moment, the music and the melody and the rhythm, you know, everything that encompasses it, that is my pure self-expression, and that's really what I love about it.
Do you
And
think
well,
the music kind of disintegrates a certain social barrier you feel, or
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, like I want to show everyone the music. Like, and it's not because I want to be famous. I really don't care at all really about, like, I just want to show people the emotion that I feel, and like in a way that's pure and undoctored and you know, uncatered, you know,
hmm,
unrefined. Just
yes,
like here is the raw data, you know, the zero context, or like rather the context is, you know,
mm,
um, is just like my raw emotion, and I'm like, now you know what how I feel,
yeah.
even if they don't, and have a clue what's going on.
No,
It's
but I
the
think
only
that's the
way.
interesting thing. Sometimes, like, even if you don't relate to a song, you can still relate to the emotion, if that makes sense. Like, sometimes, like, yeah,
Oh, like I felt that a
it's not till
lot.
years later when I go through a similar experience, you kind of listen to a song, you go, oh, they're describing this song that I've been listening to since I was 15. They're describing what I'm going through now, you know? It's like, I
Yeah,
get it now,
yeah.
you know? That happens a lot to me. It's just like things that
I
don't
find
resonate
that
later.
the music uh hits me. Like the music is what breaks me, whereas the lyrics I don't really know what they are.
Yeah.
So for example, there's a song called Absalom. I don't know how to pronounce it, by Periphery.
Can't help you there, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like the music in that song, like strikes my heart so much. You know, it really pierces my heart. I don't know what he's singing about. And knowing Spencer Sitalo of Periphery, it's probably something stupid. But the music is so powerful, you know?
Yeah. No, and I think like we were talking about well, to use my term, I guess, the disintegration of social barriers. I think perhaps like music that kind of hits you in an evocative way is kind of like maybe makes you lower your guard too and be a bit more receptive. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. No, I'm just speculating here.
I think
I do that a
being
lot.
someone who creates music in the way that I do definitely allows me to be very empathetic when I see other people's self-expression, for
Yeah.
sure,
No,
you know?
absolutely. I think it totally makes you open to like the ideas of other artists, even if other artists whose music doesn't particularly resonate with you, or isn't your cup of tea. It's like, you know, you kind of I don't know, you kind of once you've been through it, it's kind of like, yeah, you know, I appreciate what you're doing, even if it's not for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. But I can see, you know, the genuine self-expression, you know, it's so powerful to me
Yeah.
because it's something that I think is so important for people and for humans to have, is that self-expression.
Does that
When you
make
see it,
insincerity in music more apparent though?
yeah, well, it can do. But I also doubly hate it sometimes because when you're not sure if it's insincere or not, it's like you're being fucked with, and I don't like that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I
Because
get exactly what you're
I
saying.
will never be able to know, you know.
Yeah.
I will never be able to know really. But if something does feel insincere, a lot of the power is drained from it for sure.
Yeah. Totally.
Because
I
I know
hate
it
when
from.
critics like kind of like declaratively say something is being insincere or having no kind of artistic motive when they don't know, and it's just like, well, that's just your reading of it, you know what I mean? So that annoys
Yeah,
me. So
because
I'm very
that can be
reluctant to
just as
ever
harmful. Yeah, because
I'm very
something
reluctant
is.
to dismiss something as being insincere, but sometimes I do feel it where I'm like, I don't know, it's just like, is this a true expression of like you as a person? But you
But
know,
like
I don't get that from
then.
your music though, to be fair. To be
Yeah.
clear, I don't.
Oh
So
no, that's okay. Yeah. No, but then on the other side of it, it's something I thought about Sleep Token, right? Because I don't know if you know Sleep Token at all, but
yeah, I was actually talking with an interviewer, with someone I was interviewing recently. Yes.
oh yeah, yeah. Oh, really incredible. And like Vessel, who's the completely stole my fucking shebang, right? Like, I wrote that song ages ago. I was like, fuck's sake.
You got to
I
copyright
got
every
a
song, bring it
copyright.
to the patent office.
I know, what a disaster. Anyways, um uh when he was performing, he was shaking and crying,
Mm,
at times and during some of the really emotional songs. And like obviously like it hit for me, there's also an element of like, well, he this could be his thing, but honestly I didn't even care,
yeah,
it was such an amazing performance, and the emotions that were expressed so brilliantly that honestly it hit me in whatever way I wanted it to be. Because even then, his interpretation of whatever is going on in his head is going to be different to mine. Anyways,
yeah,
whatever I'm getting from the song is probably going to be different to what it means to him.
yeah,
Um, and it was still so beautiful. So I think there are some instances where you can bypass that insincerity if it does exist. But if it's very apparent, it can just be like, oh fuck this, it's
yeah.
I
Do you like
it's funny.
ambiguity, in terms for interpretation? Do you like ambiguity, or do you actually kind
uh
of like when things are a bit more direct?
I love ambiguity to the point where like I was reluctant to even talk about what Vessel was about. Like I
Yeah,
don't really want to say because it's such a like the lyrics are cryptic enough, and they whatever it meant in my head, and like I match pieces of the song together as well. So it's difficult to know like which bits relate to what. Anyway, there's no true meaning of a song. Like it's gonna be whatever the listener wants, and I want that for people. I want that for me
yeah.
as well. I don't want people having discussions about like, no, it's actually about that. And it's like, shut up. Like it's just, like in that moment where you felt that lump in your throat,
Yeah,
like were you thinking about what the artist was thinking? It's probably something relating to you anyway, it's
yeah,
that's what's real about it.
yeah. Unless it's like someone's radically misinterpreting your lyrics, and then you can get involved where people are like, I actually think it's about how environmental deregulation is a good thing. Then you're like, no, that wasn't what I was going for.
You're like, thank you, Thomas. Anyone else?
Yeah, exactly. That'd be weird just to get like the wildest reactions where it's just like, you're putting onto what you want.
Honestly,
It's like a Rorschach test.
I don't mind, because like I said, it's a very personal thing. Like I'm a very open person, but I'm still quite
Yeah.
personal. That if someone wants to say it's about something completely different, I'm like, whatever, you go ahead, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not going to impact my feeling on what the song's about.
Yeah.
It's not. Although I know it mentioned that there's a bit of politics because I'm trans,
Sure.
and because of the trans experience being so political, but
Yeah.
um, it's not meant to be political. So if someone wants to derail it, they can go ahead. I will still believe in my song and it have significance for me in my own way,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, all existence is political, I guess. You know.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
yeah,
you know
we're
what I
all
mean?
here
Yeah.
together. No, for
Yeah,
sure.
no, but yeah, I agree. Hopefully, I would like to see that change. It seemed to me that there was a period in time, kind of, I think, where queer art was sort of celebratory. It seemed like, things were going the right track, and now it seems that it's back to music of resistance in a lot of ways, which I mean, I would like to see it go. I would like to see hopefully someday queer art will just be, I don't know, just an
Self-expression as
everyday
opposed to
facet. Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
exactly.
I totally agree. I think, and yeah, and I hope that my music can be a part of that for sure, because it's definitely not political. It's just me.
Yeah, it's just you.
Yeah.
Thanks very
Easy
much for your
peasy.
time, Sarah. It was really nice chatting with you, and best luck
Thank
with
you
the
so much
single,
for
best
having
luck
me,
with the
Aaron.
gig, everything
Thank
you've
you,
got
thank you,
coming
thank
up. Yeah,
you.
and if you ever want to do it again, hit me up.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Take
What a
care.
pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye, you too.
Bye. Thank you for listening to that episode of Post-Burnout.com interviews. We're an independent venture run by yours truly, and as I said at the beginning, liking, rating, subscribing, and sharing really helps us out a lot. If you're feeling extra generous, we do have a PayPal donation link in the episode description, but don't feel obligated, of course. We've also begun releasing occasional exclusive episodes on Spotify, so subscribe there if you'd be interested in hearing those. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.